Today we will continue our championship cases. Yesterday we did Logano. Today we will do Martin Truex Jr., who sits 6th, I think it is, in the playoff standings. So yeah, we're going to talk about his year, how many playoff points he's got, how he looks in the playoffs like we normally do, just make the case for him. So yeah, this year, it's, compared to the last couple of years, it's been a down year for Martin Truex Jr. Losing Cole Pern, his crew chief, has definitely hurt him, I think, a bit. They still have a decent crew chief in James Small, but clearly you can see the difference. Last year he had 8 or some wins or something last year, and then in 2018, the last year with Furniture Row, he had 4 or 5 wins. 2017, the championship year. Even 2016, he had 5 wins or something, and then 2015 was back when they were with Chevrolet. They still had a win and made it to the championship 4. So you can still see that they, compared to last year, especially when they had 8 or something wins, they've fallen off a little bit. But yeah, so we're just going to talk about his year, where he looks good, where he's been good, all that stuff. He has 1 win this year at Martinsville. He's won the last 2 Martinsville races. And then he also has a couple stage wins, and he's been on a really good streak recently. I think he's got like 6 or 7 straight top 3s. He got a couple at Michigan, Daytona road course, whatever this past weekend was, both Dover races. So whatever that is, 5 races, maybe even before that. So he's had a nice little stretch of races here, but can he carry that into the playoffs, carry that momentum, start to pick up some more playoff points and so forth? He is part of that group I would be a little concerned about, to be honest, when it comes to making the championship 4 on points. He currently only has 14 playoff points to his name from his win, his 2 stage wins, and then also regular season points that result in playoff points. I am a little concerned. He's currently 6 points out of the championship 4 if you were to keep the playoff point standings and everyone like that. But let's say Elliott, Logano, or even someone behind him or near him like Blaney goes off, gets a couple wins, wins a few stages, and they're ahead of him significantly, 10 to 15 points. That's a lot to make up. Obviously can be made up in one race. Someone has a bad race, but I just don't like the points racing for this system. I would not like that when you can win and get in. So it could be very stressful down the road for Martin Truex Jr., but we'll see how he does. Let's look into the playoffs. The first round, it's a decent round for him. He's had some really good runs at Darlington. Richmond, he's won both of those races last year, so I would look out for him, especially recently. He's been running really good on the shorter tracks. You look at Dover. Dover's been a great track for him. Martinsville, obviously, earlier this year with that win. Where else has he done really good at? As I said, last year winning at Martinsville, winning at Richmond. He's had some really good runs on these shorter tracks, so he could do very well there. And then Bristol, he has not won at Bristol, but he has had some pretty good runs. But other than that, I expect him to get out of the first round. There should not be any problems unless he crashes out 2 of the 3 races, but he'll be fine in my opinion. Second round, this is where it gets interesting. You look at Las Vegas, the defending winner of that race is Martin Truex Jr. He's got a couple wins there in 2017 and last year. Other than that, yeah, mile and a half, they're decent to good on. They've had some good runs this year, like at Atlanta. They've had some poor runs, but then they've had some other good runs on these intermediate tracks, like at Michigan. So it's really tough to say, but I think he'll do fine there. Talladega, he has terrible luck on super speedways. I expect him to crash there. If he wins at Talladega, then you can come back and roast me. But then we go to the Bank of America Roval. The Roval, he's done very good on road courses his whole career, most of the time. A win at Sonoma back when he was at Michael Waltrip Racing. A couple more wins at Sonoma. A win at Watkins Glen. Almost won the first Roval race, but was taken out by Jimmy Johnson. Was really good at the Daytona road course earlier this year. So I expect him to be a top 5 car leading laps, competing for the win in that race. And I expect him to get out of the second round pretty safely. The Talladega race could obviously throw a wrench in everything, especially if they have a mediocre Las Vegas race, but I think he could win at the road course, the Charlotte Roval. Looking at the round of 8, you got Kansas, Texas, Martinsville. Kansas is a track that's been good to Truex in the past. He has a few wins there. In 2018, I think he's got a win, or 2017. He swept it one of the years he swept Kansas. But yeah, he's got some wins there. Obviously, good history there, as I said. And then Texas, he's had some good runs at Texas. He's had some not so great runs at Texas. So Texas is a toss-up. And then Martinsville. That is a very significant race in my opinion. because he's going to be in this really close points battle with guys like Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, assuming they all advance. And he might be at a disadvantage. Some of these guys might get more wins in the playoffs. Some of these guys might get more playoff points than he's able to get. And I think that could hurt him in the point standings, but I think Martinsville's a really good opportunity for him to win. We've seen him have really good runs there in the past, and then obviously he's won the last 2 races there. So I expect him to run really good there and to compete for the win and maybe even win and get into the championship 4. So I think Martinsville in the round of 8, look at that race. I think that's Truex's shot to win and make it to the championship 4. Then let's say he does get to the championship 4 at Phoenix. This is where I think it gets interesting, because Truex does have experience winning in this format. He's got experience in the championship 4. 2018, 2019, he finished 2nd in the standings, and then 2017, the championship. But Phoenix, I don't consider that a great track for him. He's had some good runs there, but it's not like Kevin Harvick at Phoenix. It's not even like Kyle Busch at Phoenix, Denny Hamlin. But I think with the Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch being really good at Phoenix, I think that could play to his benefit, because Jones isn't going to make the playoffs, it doesn't look like. And if he does, he's not going to make it far. Kyle Busch barely has any playoff points. He may not make it that far in the playoffs. And then Denny Hamlin, and it's basically Denny Hamlin and Truex left, and if they both make it to the championship 4, all the resources are going to be going to those 2 teams. Truex could get some help from Kyle Busch, who's been really successful, especially at the new configurement at Phoenix. So he could get some help from him with the setup, with how to drive the track, etc., etc. So I think being on Joe Gibbs Racing, a team that's had a lot of recent success at this track, could be a big benefit for him and could help propel him to the championship. And then obviously, I'm going to say it again because I have to, you could write Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick could take each other out lap 1 and finish 3rd and 4th in the standings, and Truex and whoever the 4th guys are competing for the championship now. So that could happen too, but I really don't know what else to say. So in conclusion, he should be fine for the first 2 rounds. The 3rd round, it's going to be a close points battle, and I think Martinsville's his best opportunity to win. Then when it comes to Phoenix, while that is not his best track, he does have some good sources to lean on when it comes to Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Joe Gibbs Racing. So yeah, that's a big opportunity for him, but there you go. There's why Martin Truex Jr. could win the 2020 championship. Tomorrow we get the Daytona preview. That's gonna be a tough one. But yeah, and then we got Saturday Daytona. That's gonna be fun. And then we'll jump back into the championship cases on Sunday. And yeah, keep on the schedule.